Hi friends, how are you? Today we're going to learn about self-worth, valuing yourself. How do we value ourselves? How do we learn to value ourselves? When you value yourself the way God values you, then you will value others. So trust God. Our story today goes way back to Jerusalem, the time of the captivity. Now, Nebuchadnezzar had captured lots of the people of Israel from the city of Jerusalem. These were brilliant people. You may remember the story of Daniel and his friends when, well, they were just four of many people who were captured. Now, this young man was also taken from Jerusalem, and he was taken captive with his family. And unfortunately, his uncle and his uncle's wife died, and they left a child. And this young man, he raised his cousin. Her name was Esther. Yes, Queen Esther. And who is this uncle? Well, his name is Mordecai. Now, Mordecai grew up knowing all the laws of God, learning how to love himself, love others, to trust God and follow his commands. And Mordecai grew up with all these principles, and he also taught Esther all these things, which is one of the reasons why she became queen, because she grew up and embraced the etiquette and rules of respecting herself and respecting others. Now, Mordecai was working in the king's palace. He didn't have a very high position. No, he worked at the king's gate. Now, boys and girls, sometimes we look at people who sweep the streets and we think that they may not have any education, they may just be lowly people. But believe me, boys and girls, a lot of people who do the jobs that we think are lowly are very respectable and respectful people. And because they value themselves, they will show that whatever work they do, whether it's a big job or what we think is a low job, they will always do their best. And this is what I want you boys and girls to learn. In school, work hard, but as you're studying your books, also learn to value yourself, because if you value yourself, you will value others too. Now, Mordecai, he did that. He was very respectful, and he was well known and well respected also in the courts of the king. Now, one day Mordecai, he learned about a plot to kill the king, and he disclosed this plot to the king, not directly, but it was known to the king. And because of that, the king's life was saved, and those people who wanted to kill the king, they were put away with. Now, Mordecai was not rewarded for what he had done. Boys and girls, do you think that affected how he worked? Do you think he was upset and grumpy and said, oh, look, look at this big thing that I did for the king. I saved the king's life and I got nothing for it. I'm not going to work anymore for the king. Oh, no, boys and girls, he did not say that at all. Mordecai, he just continued to work diligently and devotedly. He did his best job at the king's gate, because he valued himself and he trusted God. Now, one day, the king promoted a man to a high position, maybe second in command, and this man was called Haman. Now, Haman, he did not value anybody else. He only thought about himself. He was a very selfish man. And because he was promoted, he wanted everybody to show him respect. And so he wanted people to bow down to him. But Mordecai, he knew Haman was not a nice person. He did not treat people kindly. And Mordecai did not bow down to him, because he learned that he should only bow down to the one true God. So whenever Haman passed by the king's gate, the people would bow down, but Mordecai did not bow down to him. And because of that, Haman hated Mordecai. And when he found out that Mordecai was a Jew, he wanted to kill not only Mordecai, but all the Jewish people. Can you believe that, boys and girls? Well, God delivered Mordecai through his cousin Esther, whom he had grown up and who had become queen. So Mordecai told Esther about the plan to kill all the Jews, and Esther put her life on the line when she was reminded by her cousin Mordecai that maybe she had gone to the kingdom for a time like this to rescue her people. And because of the lessons that she learned from her cousin Mordecai, she was able to trust God like Mordecai did, and God delivered them. And boys and girls, God not only delivered them, but God also caused Mordecai to be promoted by the king when all this plot was unveiled. So Mordecai moved from a humble position at the king's gate to second in command to the king in the palace of Susha. So boys and girls, continue to trust Jesus, value yourselves, and value others, because you never know when, because you're being yourself, being good, respectful, you may be one day promoted to a higher position. And when you're promoted to that position, it will not change who you are. You will continue to value everyone just as God values you. Trust Jesus.